you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you're joining me from. I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Accept my greeting according to your time zone. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You can be among the first to receive it. Then go to the comment section at all time. Leave your comment, drop your contribution. If you have suggestions, make it out there. If you have any criticism, put it down on the comment section. It will make us to get better, presenting you a better program.
Of the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation, a former Nigerian presidential candidate. He joins me now from Washington. Kingsley, really great to have you and share important discussion. I'm sure you heard there the report from Malari Mado. Let me get first your reaction to what we heard in the last, 6-7 minutes or so from former President Obasanjo, who says the election process has been corrupted. Your reaction?
Well, thank you for having me. It's disappointing that there have been significant operational failures by INEC, the electoral umpire. I must praise the young people of Nigeria, the youth of Nigeria, who have so much looked forward to this election to be able to express themselves, perhaps for the first time, and feel that they have elected their president in a free and fair election. What we see in Nigeria every 4 years, unfortunately, is that INEC claims to be ready for elections, but at the end of the day, you have very serious glitches that begin to undermine confidence. I am aware that the European Union, the American observers, and various other international observers have expressed some reservation about the transparency of the process, and I think that's very unfortunate. And now we have former President Olusegun Obasanjo chiming in, and that's quite a weighty voice indeed.
Yeah, and it's not just, people, it's not just the glitches, I should say. It's actually electoral officials not showing up, violence too. Obasanjo also said in the last 7 minutes or so, the Electoral Commission should repeat polls in locations where there was violence, where officials failed to show. What do you think, Kingsley?
I think that's a wise suggestion, and INEC might be or would be wise to very seriously consider that in order to shore up confidence in its conduct of the elections. If, as it claims, these things were simply just failures that were operational and nothing more, then they should be able to repeat some of the elections, because if a large swathe or if there are problems in many parts of the country, that could undermine the legitimacy or the confidence that people place in whatever are the ultimate results that are announced.
Obasanjo said that the current President Buhari, Muhammad Buhari, should intervene. Do you think he ought to intervene?
Well, the Independent National Electoral Commission is officially supposed to be independent. Many people, of course, do not believe so. Do not believe that. And in a country where the institutions are weak, not strong, many people do believe that a sitting president certainly can, for purposes of national security, for example, suggest to INEC that they may take this kind of line of action.
I mean, we have so many questions. The most important one, I think, is why did the Electoral Commission get this so wrong? Voted blighted not just by delays, but violence, those not showing up. I mean, how much was incompetence? How much was voter suppression here?
It's a large mix of both, to be very, very honest. First of all, elections in Nigeria are run in the usual political way. The elections are a huge logistical operation. Nigeria should take a professional project management and risk management approach to running elections where, in this case, 87 million people collected voters' registration cards. But they never do that. So we see a huge failure of institutions in Nigeria, and it's always at the last minute. There will be huge operational failures, and then you'll just be having excuses. And of course, there was voter suppression. Now, we know that one of the major surprises in this operation, in this election, was the performance of the third force, which is the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and we saw the upset they recorded in Lagos But we also know that a lot of voter suppression went down in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State, and reports also we have it in Imo State. So these are very significant shortcomings, and they should not be happening. The security forces came in. A lot of army people were moved into Lagos, but they were not properly positioned to be able to stop or prevent these voter suppression exercises.
Kingsley Molo, really appreciate you taking time to speak to us. Thanks very much, Kingsley.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to end what's trending with my submission on the electoral process of Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections. I watched as many Nigerians express frustration over what some have described as the worst election since Nigeria returned to democratic dispensation in 1999. One of many newspaper headlines the morning after read, "Violence, poor logistics, beavers malfunction, ballot box snatching, mar polls." However, despite the frustration compounded by the naira and fuel scarcity, Nigerians turned out en masse to elect a new leader. Edifi Bina Jennifer, a female voter who many have described as the hero of the election, suffered facial injuries after being attacked by political thugs while expressing her voting rights at a polling unit in Surulere, Lagos. Despite her injuries, she forged ahead to cast her vote. While Edifi's attack was just one of many reported in Lagos and across the country. But what are the security agents saying? In Kano State, underage voting was reported, but the state's commissioner argued that there is no way of telling if a person is underage by their appearance, and that for all you know, the person may be stunted. Once again, INEC has fallen short of expectations. The commission had 4 years to plan this election, but what was observed was a reoccurrence of the failure many Nigerians have complained about. Elections did not hold in some polling units, and there were allegations that supporters of the Labour Party were deliberately disenfranchised by thugs mobilized to disrupt their stronghold in Lagos. There were complaints of many polling units that staff of INEC arrived late or were not even mobilized. At the end of the day, there were delays in uploading polling unit results for the presidential election on the INEC election results viewing portal, IREV. INEC's chairman held his last briefing on Sunday at around 6 p.m. Alas, there was no apology. Instead, results of the presidential election collated across the country were announced to the dismay of many. At a point, one party agent challenged the result announced as they did not tally with the results recorded at her polling unit. Here are my questions. Do Nigerians deserve a credible election? Did INEC conduct a credible election? Well, the answer lies with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. Nigerians await.
Let me challenge the leaders of the Labour Party. I beg you. You aren't going to get power in Nigeria by adopting the methods of the bourgeoisie. If you want to mobilize the Nigerian people, you must go beyond visiting those who destroy Nigeria. From today, your candidates must go to the offices of all the trade unions in Nigeria. The offices of women organizations, youth organizations, because the people you are competing with, please notice, have acquired, albeit illegally, unbelievable sums of money. And what do they want to do? They want to bribe voters because they have weaponized poverty. Therefore, you cannot operate on the same terrain. And the president of NIC and TUC have made the point that you have the largest structures in Nigeria. Please go out from today to revitalize those structures so that these guys can know that it can never be business as usual in Nigeria again. Time is on our side. Oh yes. Because Nigerians have lost faith in them. They are now running from pillar to post. When they say you have no structure, tell them the people are the structures of power. The people are the centers of power. Power is lying on the street in Nigeria once again. You don't know? The man in Aso Rock says, I am tired, I want to go home. Those who want to take over power from him, they are also tired, you know that? Therefore, power is lying on the street of Nigeria. Are you ready to pick it? Thank you.
Those we get here, make them hear word. And they go hunting.
If we sit down for house, so we not go vote, our vote to the count. Now so they go to cheat us. Nigeria now, bag of rice, now how much? How much? How much? How much? In a letter like that? In a letter like that?
The results being collated and being announced. We regret to state that we've lost confidence in the results being collated and being announced. Nigerians have inundated us with calls and protests over INEC's non-compliance with provisions of the electoral guidelines and the obvious manipulations of the election results. We hereby call on INEC to suspend further announcement of the results and follow its own guidelines or completely cancel the entire election and make plans for another election with strict compliance with the stipulated laws and guidelines.
We don't need to incite anybody. Nigerians came out in record numbers, the way they haven't come out since 30 years ago. The last time there was that level of turnout was in 1993. And they are currently engaged in electoral fraud. It is for them to maintain peace on the street. We have only called for calm at this conference. We have not at any point in time sought to exacerbate things. They actually want us to be fighting. And we are not interested in fighting, and we urge Nigerians to be calm.
Be calling for the entire result of this election to be cancelled. I mean, shouldn't you at least know what the result is or what INEC says the result is before you go that far?
Right, so we call for the cancellation of the entire result because of the incidences that happen all across the country, and it will not be fair for you to pick one and leave the other, especially because the three major international partners have already issued a press statement corroborating the position we've always, kind of held to the fact that the performance of the conduct of INEC is below expectation. In fact, one say it falls short of transparency. European Union even proceeded to ask for the prosecution of those who were behind violence. So what are the basis for our call for the cancellation is because the INEC chairman and the INEC by extension, they fail short of their standards. We have the Electoral Act, and let me say that for avoidance of doubt. Lots of people, probably even in INEC, have no idea of the new innovation in the amended Electoral Act, like Section 65. One of which is, in Section 65, if you look at the proviso, he said provided the INEC chairman, that's referred to in that act as the chief presiding officer, shall have the powers to review results anywhere within 7 days. Meaning that that innovation, I remember when the idea of that amendment was, brooding at that time, a lot of lawyers that have, turned up to be the lawyers of APC kicked against it, and some of the ABC members in the National Assembly. Because what that provision actually was introduced to kill is this idea of rig the election, let them go to court. So that's why it confers that power on INEC as a mandatory power to review result and then reverse the outcome. So what is the result?
You mean review it, stop the announcement of election results, review it, and then reverse it and continue? I mean, I'm not quite sure I understand.
Yeah, so this is it.
Yeah.
First, results are announced per level, right? At the polling unit, you announce it. Then when it gets to the ward, and that's right, go up to the national. They are confusing people at the center when they said it has to be announced by the national chairman at the national. No, the election results are announced at the polling unit, and any objection is raised at the polling unit. Now, we have it on good report that most of our polling agents that raise objections to certain activities at the polling unit were ignored. Some of them, some of the presiding officers, thought that, that kind of